Welcome in everyone, this is Jordan with Ravens Flash Report, and today I'll be getting you ready for the Ravens' upcoming matchup this weekend against the Cleveland Browns. We're going to go over the players to watch for each team, the keys to victory, and what I hope to see for the offense and defense in this upcoming game. Let's get into it.
They're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that. I'm a Raven. It's on. All year, every year.
Starting out, guys, as always, we're going to get into the players to watch for the Browns. So, the first guy that we're going to get into, as we usually do, is the quarterback for the Browns, Deshaun Watson. So, through 3 games, Deshaun's had a bit of a inconsistent start to the season. So, he played well against Cincinnati, but their offense was sputtering, so not too much of a matchup in Week 1. Week 2, we did see him get frustrated with the Pittsburgh defense, who they eventually did lose to, and he made a few mistakes along the way. And then Week 3, he seemed to do a lot better, but again, that was coming up against a Titans team that seemed to not really know what it was doing on offense the whole game, really. No real passing yards for Tannehill, and not much in the way of an effort from Derrick Henry, at least not to what we're used to. Next up, we're going to be talking about Nick Chubb's replacement, Jerome Ford. So, in Game 1, not too much. Again, Chubb was still playing there. But in Game 2, after Chubb went down, Jerome Ford exploded. 16 attempts, 106 yards, and then 3 receptions for 25 yards and a receiving touchdown. But then he seemed to fall off the map in Game 3. Only 1.8 yards per attempt, still 2 receptions for 33 yards, and a receiving touchdown. So, that's something to definitely look for against the Ravens, as we just had an issue with that up against the Colts this last week. Alright, the next Browns to watch are actually going to be Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore. Both of these guys can beat you in multiple ways. Amari Cooper, a bit more of the seasoned vet compared to Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore, a little bit more of the speedster. We did see him against the Jets in the season opener last season, but honestly, this is a wide receiver duo that I think can actually give us some problems. I was worried about the Bengals wide receiver core, and we didn't hear too much from Chase. We did, however, get beat a couple times by Higgins. So Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore, they're no slouches. They've got decent numbers on the season, and I'm a little bit still worried about our cornerback room at this point, but I guess we'll see how they do. And last but not least, we have the wrecker himself, Myles Garrett. So Myles Garrett already has 4.5 sacks through 3 games this season, 4 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, and 10 QB hits. And if the Indianapolis Colts game was any indication, I'm still a little bit worried about our offensive line. Now, it was good to hear that the offensive line only missed on a few plays last game against the Colts, but it looked worse than it was because when they did miss, it usually ended up in a sack or it ended up in Lamar having to scramble for his life out to the side. Now, Lamar's very good at that, but we don't want him doing that so much that all of a sudden now he has no clean pocket to throw from. And Myles Garrett is definitely going to be a problem. Not just him, though. I didn't put him on here, but Zadarius Smith on the other side. Ravens fans know him well. But what does he bring? His numbers are not nearly as good as Myles Garrett, but what I think Zadarius Smith brings to this is a competent level. You can't just simply leave Zadarius Smith alone and only focus on Myles Garrett. So if you don't double team Garrett, Zadarius Smith is still going to cause problems in a one-on-one. That's where I think Myles Garrett is thriving, is because you can't simply double team him every single time. Alright, let's get into our Ravens to watch. So the first Raven to watch, of course, is going to be Lamar Jackson, who, sort of like Deshaun Watson, has had a bit of an up and down season so far. So, started out rather lackluster in the game against the Texans, had a great game against the Cincinnati Bengals, and though even the numbers don't look super flashy against the Colts, he did have his first 100-yard rushing game of the season and his first 100-yard rushing game in quite some time. So it was really good to see him use his legs and get out there. He's also rocking a 73.3 completion percentage, which is second highest in the league right now and is 10 points higher than Deshaun Watson's. So I am looking for Lamar, if he gets a clean pocket, to have a really good game and utilize all the weapons around him as well as his legs and continue to pick up chunk plays on third down. Next up, we've got Mark Andrews, who is a bit of a Cleveland killer. He has had a great career so far against Cleveland. But last year, he kind of down on his numbers. The first game, he wasn't really playing in. He only had 1 carry and no receptions. And then the second game, Lamar got injured and he was out. But looking to see Mark have a bit of a bounce back game, because against the Bengals, he did well. And then against the Colts, he sort of faded a little bit into the background. He did have a couple of good first down pickups. That's fine. But I would like to see him still be more a large part of the game plan. I love to have Zay out there, and I love the Mark and Zay combination. So I really would like to see him be a consistent and early part of the game plan and make the defense respect the middle of the field. Speaking of Zay, he is our next Raven to watch. Now, I was going to put Nelson Aguilar here, but after the Bengals game, which he did so well in and he was so prominent in the game plan, it seemed like he wasn't utilized quite as much in the Colts game, which I found surprising since Bateman only had 1 catch and OBJ wasn't even playing. So as far as Zay, I still look for him to get a high volume. I mean, 2 games, he's already had 10 catches in the first game and the third game. And then he has a consistent amount of yardage. He's also got great hands. Pretty much every time the ball is right at him or in his vicinity, he makes the catch. He has yet to record a drop yet this season, so I'm still looking for him to be our yards after catch machine, and I would love to see him be the option or the hot route in some of these where we know Lamar is going to get pressure, he's going to get blitzed, and he needs to get the ball out quicker, and I think Zay is a great guy to have as that option. Either that, or start utilizing the running backs for that type of job. So our last Ravens to watch is basically any injured Raven that may or may not be coming back. So I'm recording this on a Wednesday night. We did get to see the Ravens injury report for Wednesday, and it did have some players playing on limited snaps. So we had Tyler Linderbaum, Ronnie Stanley, Marcus Williams. They were all out there at practice, limited practices. Odell was not, but I've already heard that Odell is one of the players that may or may not be in this week. So hopefully he can come back, give a little bit of a spark to this offense. Just another playmaking option for Lamar to go to. And honestly, if we can get Tyler or Stanley back, I think that would be huge. Preferably Tyler, not anything against Mustipher, but I trust Macari a little bit more than I trust Mustipher in the middle of that line. But like I said, despite a couple of issues in the game against the Colts, the O-line overall did hold up pretty well against the Colts' defensive front. All right, so real quick, we're going to run through my keys to victory. And these are basically just a few things that I think the Ravens really need to focus on in order to make sure that this game doesn't get out of hand the way the Colts did and make sure that they maintain momentum. Right? So controlling the line of scrimmage on offense and defense is exactly what it sounds like. We need to make sure that on defense, we're owning the line of scrimmage, we're stopping the run, we're taking control of their pressure, right? And then on offense, we need to make sure that we keep Lamar protected, which goes right into the second point. Give him a clean pocket to throw in. I'm going to show you guys a couple of screenshots that I have from the game against the Colts where Lamar has a clean pocket to throw from and the result of that. So the first one here, nice clean pocket, room to throw, room to set his feet. It's a gain of 20 to Likely. All right, here's another one. Same drive, a little bit earlier in the drive. This is a gain of 6 to Flowers, but it's also a first down. Look at all that space that he has. He's got all that room to work with. And then the third one here is another gain of 8. It's the very next play, a gain of 8 to Flowers. Again, you can see it, Flowers up at the top right of your screen. He's got all the time in the world to throw to this. I did see that he had Bateman up to the top left, but the point is he's got a clean pocket to throw from, and he makes the most of it. Another key to this game is going to be to beat the blitz or the pressure with these hot routes, because last game against the Colts, it really didn't look like Lamar had many options, and we know he's going to get blitzed. We know that defensive coordinators are basically going to say, let Lamar deal with the blitz until he can beat it. And so far, we haven't been beating it consistently enough. I want us to continue to keep our penalties low. We did a lot better against the Colts, so every single week we've been getting better with the penalties. And then lastly, of course, just continue to put pressure on Watson, but have it be effective pressure, right? Getting in the backfield is great, but we want him on the ground. So as well as Clowney has done, and he has done excellent, much better than I think a lot of Ravens fans, including myself, were expecting when we signed him at first. But an effective pressure that we saw last week was the 3 times that Kyle Hamilton came in and sacked Gardner Minshew. He blitzed 3 times and got 3 sacks. That is extremely efficient and extremely effective pressure. Now, does everything have to be designed that way? No, but it's nice to see that McDonald has drawn up some plays where he can get guys in those positions. We just need to continue to use those plays to our advantage in key situations in the game against Watson. So the last section here is what I hope to see, but this is sort of kind of piggybacking off of the keys to victory, but this is basically the way that I want the team to kind of go. I don't think these things are necessary to win the game, but they're things that I want to see that show me that the Ravens team is moving in the right direction. So first off, I want the play calling to be smart and keep the defense guessing. This is for the offense. Can be true for the defense too. Good play calling, like I just said about the pressure, but I want the offense to keep the defense guessing. If you can't just simply have Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith pin their ears back and go after Lamar without the threat of him throwing it over the top of them, that plays into the offense's hands. Also, let's get a turnover. I feel like it's been forever since we've gotten a turnover. I know we caused that forced fumble last week against the Colts, but we didn't secure it. It ended up being a punt, but it still would have been nice to have that field position. Also, little to no 3-and-outs. I feel like we did really well, especially against the Bengals having very little 3-and-outs, and even against the Texans in the first game. But it seemed as though on offense for the Colts, we seemed to stall. Now, some of that is going to be because of the turnovers that we had in our fumbles, but I would like to see a more efficient and continue drives to keep Watson off the field and to maybe hopefully tire out this Cleveland defense a bit. Again, what I hope to see, keeping the penalties low. This one does carry over. Just keep the penalties low. Don't beat yourself. We did enough last week to beat ourselves. We don't need to go into this game and clean up our ball security and clean up our pressure of Lamar, whatever, and then still just shoot ourselves in the foot by staying behind the sticks and getting stupid penalties. And next up, spread the ball out and spread it out early. I want to see multiple guys getting involved. If Odell Beckham does play, get him the ball early. Get Duvernay the ball, either on a jet sweep or just something down the field. I feel like Duvernay has had a couple of opportunities so far in the season and just hasn't been able to capitalize on it. Get him involved early. Get Aguilar involved early. We know they're going to get Zay involved. We know they're going to get Andrews involved. So get some of these guys involved early and keep them involved to keep the defense guessing and keep the offense humming. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to this game, guys. Cleveland is going to be a really tough matchup. I'm not going to lie. This game has me more worried than the Cincinnati game, and I don't know how well the Ravens are going to do, but I do believe in this team. And like I said, after we played the Bengals, if they play that way every week, there's no reason that these Ravens can't bang with any team out there, and that includes these Browns. I think they can go out there, and if they can stay ahead of the sticks on offense and keep the ball moving, then they'll be able to beat back this defense. And I do think our defense, it's continued to play well, and I think it'll continue to play well against this Cleveland offense. Anyway, so those are my thoughts. Looking forward to this game. Hopefully you guys are too, and hopefully we come out with the win, which will give us the lead in the AFC North and a 3-1 record. So let's look for that, and I'll see you guys after the game. Thanks. Bye.